we'll go ahead and get started with Doug whenever you're ready.
Obviously, the other night was disappointing, the result, but if I remember correctly, you guys are trying to build for a long run here, not a one-hit wonder. Mm-hmm. So is this just the first step in hopefully what you guys are trying to get this franchise to be at?
Yeah, I think, last night was really tough. The other night. And it's something that, of course, like this all year we believed, like we really did believe that we can get this done this year. And it's something, it's really fresh and it's really raw, and it's something that it's tough to reconcile right now. But yeah, I think when you look at our plan and you look at our roster and our contract situation, this is something we're looking to carry in to the future. And I think I've said it since 2019, like, this needs to be sustainable. And I think we got to see what this market can do, what you all do with your coverage, what these fans, that they will turn out and they will pay to see this product. And so, no, it's something to be proud of, but it's also something we're not close to done. And we look forward to improving this team in the offseason and being back. Yeah.
Sorry.
I got it done here. Not to look too far ahead, but just going to ask about Stewie and JJ. You know, Stewie told me before the series that she said she could almost guarantee she'll be cored. And I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Stewie will 100% be cored. She will not be an unrestricted free agent.
And JJ, I was wondering if you've had any extension talks with her at the end of the regular season and how you plan to handle that situation.
We haven't had our exit meetings. Unfortunate for you all, I haven't talked to any players today as of yet. That'll be my job later this day. So we haven't gone into it. We touched on it. I think with JJ, it was just a situation of trying to feel out this season and like, what does it feel like? I think she really shined this postseason, arguably our best player, just in terms of consistency, the effort she made defensively, on the glass, rim protection, finishing, playmaking. I mean, she was incredible. So for us, it's a player that we would definitely want to retain, and we'll continue those talks into the offseason.
Hey, Jonathan, You talked a little bit about building this team. There was so much conversation about the Aces and the Liberty as soon as that became a part of the narrative here. As you now have gone through the regular season, played them in the WNBA finals, what are things that you see as similarities to how the Aces were built and what you're trying to build here? And what things are unique and different in how you want to approach the New York Liberty?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, there's the comparisons from the start. And I think, when you talk about the difference in building, I think there's a lot of differences. I mean, they won the lottery 3 straight years, happened to get the number 1 pick in years that turned out Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, players that are their pillars of what they do, in addition to Asia Wilson, right? I mean, like that's their leader. And then Chelsea Gray bringing her in via free agency, adding to that with Alicia Clark this year. So I think there's core differences. We had one number 1 overall pick, and Sabrina. We signed Benijah in 2021, so those were kind of the original pillars of this team, and then went out, executed a trade for JJ and Kayla, and then manufactured the cap space to acquire Sloot and Stewie. So there's definitely differences in how the teams were built. From there, in terms of I apologize, like you said, the comparisons. Yeah. Yeah, in terms of the culture, I mean, I kind of feel like you don't really know another team's culture unless you're in their locker room. Like, I really don't know. In terms of our culture, I'm really proud of our culture. I think it's something that's often a buzzword that's used, but really it's just a systematic set of beliefs, right, that you do every single day. And I think we really did buy in to what we were trying to do, which was selfless basketball. And I think that's reflected through, literal statistics when you look at our assist percentage, but also when you watch us and just see how we play. And that's what the Liberty are about. It's just all inclusive. It's something where we want everyone to shine, but we want to win. And so in terms of timeline as well, this is the first step, after 5 years, the first real step towards contention. And we're looking forward to continuing that going forward. And I don't think the Aces are going anywhere either. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jonathan. Building off of that, I have 2 thoughts for you here. First, Kelsey Plum was quoted to say something, and I want to get your thoughts on it. we knew that as much as they're a team, as in you guys, they're not a team, if that makes sense. They're really good individual players, but they don't care about each other. And you can tell in those moments they revert back to individual basketball. You just spoke about something completely in contrast of that. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think some of our actually a lot of our players saw that. And so first off, I just want to say how much I respect Kelsey Plum. I think she's done just a phenomenal job adjusting to this league and becoming just a major player on a team that's been a multi-champion. I mean, and that's who she is. I do believe her words were taken a bit out of context, to be fair to her. And I think what she was trying to say is they, Las Vegas, have gone through it. They've been on teams that have lost. They've been on teams that maybe their locker room wasn't the best, and they've stuck together and they've persevered. And there's something to honestly be said for that. Now, as I said earlier, if you're not in a locker room, you don't know what you're talking about. And I say that with all due respect. And I don't want this to be clickbaity, and I don't want this to be quoted like hers was in a snapshot without all the context. The fact of the matter is that this is a team. It's a wonderful team. If you're around these players day in and day out, they truly care about one another. This is something that, quite honestly, could have blown up at any time earlier this year. And when I say that, I'm saying if the buy-in wasn't there, if the care factor wasn't there, but they were for each other. You do not get to Game 4 of the finals if you're not a team. Now, having said that, what Las Vegas had was continuity and collective experience in the finals, okay? That's something that we had individual experience in the finals, but not together. We have not been through this battle together. But no, this is absolutely a team. It's a team personified. And like I said, I respect Kelsey a great deal, and congrats to her and the Las Vegas Aces. But, I took that a bit personally because I've witnessed what this team chose to become, so.
I appreciate that. I really do. And number two, I'm just curious what getting more athletic in the backcourt might look like for you guys as you approach 2024.
Yeah, I think we're going to address. It's definitely an area that we need to improve upon. I think it's something where I don't necessarily know that that's in the starting lineup. I think we can look at our bench, and I think we can continue to augment there and improve. We can get longer. We might, this year we're very big, heavy on the bench. We might shift that. You can add another wing. You can make that a ball handler, what have you. But we have to improve our defensive presence off the bench, and that'll give us more options in different series. I think we saw this year Washington, Connecticut to an extent, what they can do defensively, and we just need to have some more tools. And so that's my job, and it's already started.
Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you for being here today. I have a two-part question for you. First of all, one of the things that Coach Brondello mentioned before Game 4 was that the players' coachability was at an all-time high, and she mentioned your character requirements. So how did it feel to form a team that exceeded pretty much all expectations out there while not risking your core tenet of having high character players in high caliber situations?
Yeah, I mean, this team isn't together unless they had those characteristics. I mean, honestly, as great as these players are, if they didn't embody what we stand for as an organization, they just wouldn't be here. And I think that character is what led to them, being so successful this season. Having said that, I'm not sure that we did surpass expectations. I think that our expectation was to win a championship. And so I think we fell short of that goal. And it's not even a goal, it's a mission. So, I think it feels great that we got here, but we're not happy to be here. We're here. We will be happy when we win.
Totally fair. And this time around, it's very early in this process, but at the same time, how do you plan so far to approach the draft this time around?
Yeah.
Because the past 2 years have been focused on, veteran additions from abroad, but at the same time, there could be something in the draft, especially considering the fact you own Phoenix's first rounder come the 2025 draft. So how do you plan to approach the next two drafts?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, that's also already started. I mean, our player personnel department's already, preparing their scouting schedule, and I mean, we're going to really dig into that. It's really not that long ago that we were very heavily invested in the draft, so it's something we're familiar with, and I think we take pride in that. I think we've done well there, and so we're going to continue to do that. In terms of 2025, we'll see what Phoenix does, going forward. I mean, they just made their hire, they're revamping everything they're doing, and so tough to say. But yeah, we do have those pick swap rights that we acquired this past off season, and so we'll just continue to monitor where that pick will land in 25.
Appreciate your time.
Hey, Jonathan, good morning. You talked about continuity and culture. Just wanted to piggyback on that a bit. What are the challenges of trying to make changes to the roster when you do want to build on this good foundation you have here? You want to build, gain experience with the players that you have, and also want to bring in new pieces to this foundation. So what are the challenges of trying to continue the way you're trying to build here and also bring in outside pieces?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a challenge. It's something where I think for the first time in a long time, we have stability in terms of our roster spots. I mean, we really do. I think our pillars are here. And so it's looking at what can we tinker with. And like I mentioned earlier, it's going to come from the bench. I think that's where we're really going to look to augment. So it's not necessarily a challenge. It's figuring out what differences can we make there that will make meaningful impact on the court. When you look at Stewie's minutes this year, Sloot's minutes this year, how can we save them a bit more during the season, gain experience for younger players? We don't want to run them into the ground. I think we saw how brutal these series can be, how long they can be, what it takes to get here. So I think we're going to look to, I guess what I would say is the challenge that I'm challenged with is finding players that we could put on the floor that can sustain, if not augment, leads during a game, so that when our starters are coming back in, it's not necessarily playing catch up. It's just furthering that lead. So that's what we'll look to do. Yeah. Also, are you a D-backs fan? Oh, come on, man. They won last night. Yeah, I know, right? You gotta get another one. Tell me.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hey.
I've got a question separate from kind of this season, but a couple of weeks ago, Owen and I chatted with Dee Dee Richards, and she had said to us that you were someone that she stayed in touch with even after she was cut in training camp, and that you and Sandy both kind of helped facilitate her ending up in Australia to play in the WNBL. So when you talk about the culture, the top-down culture from this franchise, how have you maintained some of those relationships with players that aren't still here?
Yeah, really rooting for Dee Dee, and I'm really excited to see how she does over there. I think she's going to be awesome, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for her to somewhat reestablish herself. She's had some injuries, and she's going to get to go out there and prove that she belongs in this league because she does. In terms of relationships, I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of with this organization. It's not fake. There's a real connection with our players, and it might be the same as some other organizations, or it might be different. I don't know. It's just how we do things. And when players leave here, it doesn't mean that what we had together is over. You never know what happens in the future, and so it's something that I think is important. It's authentic, and Dee Dee's someone that's really special to this organization. We drafted her. She's somebody that we believed in from the start, and we still honestly believe in. And that, I think I said in preseason, that was one of the toughest. That was one of the toughest things I've had to do for this roster. Going from 12 to 11 was more painful than I anticipated. And so, like I said, rooting for her, and it's something where I hope that players that are here currently understand that these relationships are real, because you can kind of go back to the past and see how those have continued, even though those players aren't necessarily on a roster currently.
We'll go to Christina and finish with Brian.
Sorry, I'm
You're good.
Hey, Jonathan. Just going back to the question before Miles, how much does the prioritization rule and obviously the Olympic year next year play into that strategy of trying to improve that bench?
Yeah, it does go into it, and we've got a lot to figure out there. Can't go into a couple things, but yeah. It's something where also we need to figure out national team obligations, because prioritization, it's not only club play that impacts this. It's national team in terms of the report date that they're requiring. So there's a lot that goes into it. This is gonna be felt by a lot of teams, I feel, and a lot of players around the league. So for us, that is a new thing to navigate. But we also need we need clarification on what this really is and what this looks like from not only those teams and club and national, but the league as well. Like, so I think there's things that we need to navigate. We do have league meetings coming up at the beginning of November. That's when we'll get that clarification. So yeah, it's definitely another challenge. To use that word that was used earlier for us, but we'll navigate it.
Good morning.
Hey.
One of the with a roster like this, there were so many different adjustments and players taking on new roles. And for Sabrina, who's been here of the starters who've been here the longest, how have you sort of seen her evolution in adjusting to the new roles, and where do you see her building off this season going into next season?
Yeah, I thought she was phenomenal just in terms of her historical increase in percentage from three at a really high volume. It's really a game changer for a team, especially us. So really proud of her to do that. I think going forward, we're looking to get to the rim a bit more, finishing at the rim at a high percentage. The exciting thing about Sabrina is she's so good, second team All-W, and well-deserved. But there's more to do, and I think she knows that too. And so she's going to come back even better, and I think that's exciting for fans and also myself and the coaches and the players as well. So I think for her, it's just continued to expand. Last offseason was the first offseason she actually had to work on her game, and I think you all saw the results of that. So excited to have her do that for a second consecutive year.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. Next up, we'll have head coach Sandy Brondello.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And also just thank you to you all for the coverage this year. It's been just historic and really exciting to read and watch. So really appreciate it.